Welcome to the inaugural episode of our Research Methodology podcast. I'm Ishara Lakmali, representing the Department of Marketing Management, Faculty of Management Studies, the Open University of Sri Lanka. In today's discussion, we have the privilege of hosting our distinguished resource person, Mr. Dilan Ratnayaka, a senior lecturer attached to the Department of Marketing Management at the University of Sri Jayawardenepura. Mr. Dilan has extensive experience in teaching research methodology and guiding research students. A warm welcome to you, Mr. Dilan. Today's session is centered around the critical topic of business research. So, initiating the discussion, please explain us what the research is. And one more question, what are the special features of business research?
Thank you for the interesting question. I think this is a timely topic that we need to discuss, especially for the benefit of the students who are beginning to study research and the research methodology. If we look at the practical situation, when we have discussions with the students, we see in many cases there is a misconception about the research in terms of the understanding about the research and the research process. We have seen in many occasions students tend to define research as collecting and analyzing information, which is a part of research and the research process. But if we look at the big picture, the research and the research process is much more comprehensive, and it is a deciding factor when it comes to the advancement of the knowledge. With that understanding, when we look at research, we can see it as an overall scientific process of advancing the knowledge. If we look at the theoretical definitions of research, of course, there are a number of definitions for research. If I cite just one definition, we can define research as a systematic approach to obtain and confirm new and reliable knowledge. In that sense, we see the roots of research as a deciding factor of advancing the knowledge, what we know and what is there to be explored more in a scientific way. If I broadly touch upon the important aspects of this definition, obviously one major component is advancement of the knowledge. The intention of the research and the research process ultimately is to advance what we know about something. If we take this from the social research perspective, the purpose of social research is to advance our understanding about the society that we are living in. For business people, it is the intention of the research process is to advance our knowledge about the society within which we are conducting business operations. And the other component of this definition is that research is not just a process, it is a scientific process. In the sense, there is a specific process that we need to follow and go through, and especially this process needs to ensure the scientific rigor. What we do in terms of the research design, the data collection and the data analysis should be scientifically rigorous so that the new knowledge that is being generated through the research process is validated. It can be attributed to the broader society or broader population. Or what we generate as new knowledge is valid and applicable to different contexts in our society. So if we look at the effort to define the research, I think that could be the big picture that we need to see.
So, then what are the special features of business research?
Well, again, that's very important, especially when it comes to the business research. We do have different classifications of research, number of classifications. When it comes to business research, I think the first point that we need to understand is the business research is a subcomponent of the broad area that we identified as research. Within the general umbrella of research, there are so many categories such as medical research, social research, and there can be health research and so on. So among number of that type of research components, business research is a subdiscipline. In business research specifically, we use these scientific processes of generating and validating new knowledge in relation to the businesses. That's how we relate the research component with the business and define the subdiscipline of the business research. If I define the business research properly, it can be described as a systematic and an organized effort in investigating a specific problem that is encountered by an organization in terms of a work setting that needs a solution. So, if we compare these two definitions of research and the business research, we have similarities. The first similarity is obviously that both these research and business research intends to advance the knowledge. And the second thing is both the research and the business research is following a scientific and a rigorous process. The only difference is in business research, our focus is to address a specific business issue. That's why in business research, we mainly consider the relationship between the researcher and the manager in terms of the decision problem. The managers encounter decision problems, they do not have enough information to take the right decision. That is the situation where the business research specifically comes into play. We need certain types of information to be collected in relation to the identified problem, which is scientifically rigorous, and then do the analysis, make recommendations for the managers to make the right business decisions. So that is how we can identify the depth of business research within the domain of businesses and business related issues.
Well, could you elaborate on why understanding research methodology is crucial for students pursuing degrees in management discipline?
I think that is really important. If any student needs to enhance the knowledge, the research should be the central force. That's why we do have the research component, research methodology, and the practical dissertation for the students as mandatory components in almost all the recognized degree programs all over the world. Because the university and the university education, if we look at in the broader sense, the purpose of the universities and the university education is to enhance knowledge, the knowledge generation and the knowledge dissemination. And the difference of the university community is that the knowledge that we generate is scientifically rigorous. We follow specific processes which is rigorous, scientifically rigorous, so that that knowledge is reliable and valid. And that's why I think if we look at the big picture, that's why the research methodology is really important for our undergraduates. They are engaging with the new knowledge, of course, through the lectures. But when it comes to the knowledge generation, knowledge creation, they should really have a good experience about the process that we need to go through when generating this new knowledge. And that is obviously the research process. So in my thinking, really important for the students to have a proper understanding about the research process and the practical aspects of the research process, and finally how this new knowledge can be disseminated to the interested parties.
Yes, I agree with you, Mr. Dilan. Now we will shift our focus to your international exposure. As an academic with a wealth of experience, could you share insights into your journey and offer valuable advice for both our academic community and the eager learners turning in?
Well, thank you for that question. I think my experience, for me, I wouldn't say like extensive experience, but I do have the experience in academic research as well as the practical research. I have engaged in number of academic research that are published in high quality journals, uh, as well as we have done number of projects for the Pacific businesses addressing business issues in Sri Lanka, as well as we have conducted national level of studies that aimed at providing some policy implications to the government and other relevant authorities. If I give an advice to the people who are engaging in research, I think the first thing that we need to consider is the quality of the research that we conduct. Whether it is academic research or practice oriented research, I think the scientific rigor of the entire process is extremely important. We need to make sure that we follow the specific process, everything is well documented, the reliability and the validity of the process that we follow should be there, and the trustworthiness of the research should be established so that any other party can understand as to how we have come up with this new knowledge and up to which level we can rely on uh, the matters that we report as the findings of our research. That is the first thing. And the second thing is, in my opinion, we need to be really concerned about the final impact of our research. Whatever the research that we do, it should not be ended in just a report. That should be somehow connected to the practice where we can contribute to the advancement and the dissemination of the knowledge that we already have. It can be obviously scholarly implications where we advance some theories so that other scholars can make use of it to further advance the theory. Or else, from the practical perspective, I think it's really important as researchers that we make a good impact on the society. What we find through the research should be communicated to the relevant stakeholders so that it can be converted into business decisions, or it can be converted into practical implications. For example, I have been a part of a research team where we did a research to understand the tourist perception about Sri Lanka, and eventually we communicated the findings of that research to the relevant government authorities so that they could use those insights when designing the tourism strategies in Sri Lanka. I think that's really important. So it can be either business decisions or policy decisions, or finally, it can be some actions that are taken to enhance the social well being, which is the ultimate outcome of research and the education.
We really appreciate your time and contribution, Mr. Dilan. Thank you so much. Dear listeners, we will meet you next time with another scholar.